Blog Talk Radio.
Down to sleep, lay me down. I pray my soul is mine to keep. My soul can never step outside this bed, never into all the evil. Now back from the dead.
Are you scared?
He's here.
The calling hours.
When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk here.
They will say that I have shed innocent blood. What's blood for, if not for shedding?
Horror podcast on Horror Society Radio. Once again, it is I, your host, the head undertaker, the dead man Michael Jones of HorrorSociety.com and Living Dead magazine. What's going on, world? On episode 64 of the Calling Hours Horror podcast, in our feature interview, we will be talking with writer, producer, director, and special effects artist Spencer Gray about his short Snake with a Human Tail. We will also be asking him about his work as a special effects assistant on The X-Files, Cherry Falls, Darkness, and Walker, Texas Ranger, Trial by Fire. We will also be talking about some of his other work, and we will also ask him about his return to boxing. In our digital dismemberment spotlights for the evening, we will be reviewing Scream Factory's special edition Blu-ray release of Invaders from Mars. And I have to tell you, I have not seen this film since it came out, and I think Scream Factory did an absolutely fantastic job putting this disc together, not only with all of the special features, but the quality of the film and the nostalgia factor that the film gives you while watching it. And speaking of nostalgic, we are also in our first DVD spotlight for the evening. We will be covering Ala Film's Blu-ray release of Night of the Demons 2. And again, another film that, gosh, I probably haven't seen since it came out. And it looks good. It's good to see it out there. It's good to see that Ala Films is putting out some of the more obscure titles that genre fans are looking to have fill in on their DVD racks. So there is going to be plenty to cover this evening, and we're going to jump into our digital dismemberment here in a second. But we will be featuring the band Theories and their most recent CD, Regression, in our Metal Blade Spotlight. In fact, they're going to be the first one here. We're going to get a double shot of them. And then the rest of the evening, we are featuring Demonical and songs from their CD Darkness Unbound. So let's jump into it. Metal Blade Spotlight. Brand new world podcast premiere music from Theories. The CD is Regression. The song is Burnt Concrete. just heard a double shot of world podcast premiere music from Theories, The CD is Regression. You just heard Cycle of Decay. And before that, we opened it up with Burnt Concrete. And Grumpy just sent me a message. He was asking me what the hell they were saying in Burnt Concrete, so I will send the lyrics to you after the show there, Grumpy. But now it is time. It's time for some digital dismemberment.
Digital dismemberment.
In our first digital dismemberment spotlight for the evening, we are going to be covering Olive Films' Blu-ray release of Night of the Demons 2. It's Halloween, and the teenagers from St. Rita's High School want to party at the neighborhood's haunted house. For years, the whole house has sat in eerie silence. Tales of its haunted past have turned into gory jokes, and no one really believes anything ever happened there. However, Angela, the hostess from hell, is summoning her army of teen demons to the blood-curdling contest between the school's priests and herself, the Princess of Darkness. What was intended as an innocent evening of fun and games turns into a hell-raising, life-threatening ordeal. They wanted fun. Now they're in the trick-or-treat party of their lives. Stylishly directed by Brian Trenchard Smith, for those that don't remember, from Leprechaun 4 in Space. This is one of those titles that you're, as a fan, especially if you're a fan of the original Night of the Demons, you were looking for it on Blu-ray. And you couldn't find it anywhere. Well, Olive Films has done, once again, I think a fantastic job of bringing an obscure film that many could not find on anything other than VHS. And I believe it was available on DVD for a short while. Great film. Basically, this takes place about 6 years after the original Night of the Demons. And in this, we see a Catholic boarding school for troubled teenagers, St. Rita's Academy. Angela's sister, Melissa, is going to the school, and she's kind of picked on by the majority of the kids. They call her Mouse. She winds up being asked to, they were going to go to this dance, and a couple of the kids get in trouble for something they did, some for nothing that they did. So the girls decide that they want to throw a Halloween party at Hull House. And they do some crazy stuff. There's some ritual sacrifice. And they steal a book on demonic rituals from a young man who also got banned from the original party, Perry. And he tries to summon Angela in the church, and he winds up angering the father, and the father puts him on restriction. So they steal a book from him. So Rick and Z-Boy put together this party with Shirley. They trick Johnny and BB and her friend Terry to get Mouse to go with them to Hull House. And, of course, by now, Angela is already awake. So shit goes crazy in the house, and they go to make their escape, minus Z-Boy, who is possessed and basically sexually assaulted by Angela in the attic. BB finds a tube of lipstick outside of the house, and they go back to the school. And in a sequence where she's in the bathroom, she uses the makeup, and this long snake-like creature crawls out of the tube and possesses Shirley. And so slowly, one by one, Angela and Shirley go around and they start possessing or killing people. The plan is Angela wants to sacrifice Mouse to the devil to prove her devotion to him. Sister Gloria, Father Bob, who are the heads of the Catholic school, along with Johnny, Beebe and Perry return to Hull House and are trying to rescue Melissa after she's taken away from the school party. Most of the students that don't go with them to help hole up in the church because it's sacred ground. So they get to the house, and Father Bob is still not really on board, really doesn't believe that anything's going on inside the house or with anyone. But he winds up being killed by Rick when he's turned into a demon. Perry's about to die as well, or Johnny's about to die as well until Perry saves him. And the weapons are interesting if you want to think, around that From Dusk Till Dawn era. You have super squirters with holy water in them. You have water balloons. Crosses seem to be quite effective, amongst other things. So he saves Johnny, but Perry winds up getting killed by Z-Boy. So they start going around with holy water, and they start killing the remaining demons until Angela is the only one left. So they search through the house, and they find Melissa, and she's laying down on an altar. And there's a real comedic sequence between Angela and Sister Gloria, and they argue about what faith is, and she basically, Sister Gloria offers herself in exchange for Melissa's freedom. So they kind of switch places, and she tries, Mouse is told that she needs to decapitate Sister Gloria. But in another comedic moment, Sister Gloria pulls her head down into her habit, and she lives. Angela hands the sword to Melissa and promises her great power if she kills the sister. Melissa looks like she's going to do it, but then she turns and she stabs Angela instead. And Sister Gloria finishes Angela off with a super soaker filled with holy water. So we kind of think that's the end, and then as they get downstairs, in a great effects piece, there is kind of a serpentine style of Angela that won't let them leave. And a form of I hope I'm saying it right, a lamia. It's pretty cool effect. It's definitely something we're seeing. So there's a fight that goes on, and they really don't manage to do anything. And then when Johnny's thrown across the room, he accidentally knocks a hole in the wall that's the shape of a cross, and the sun is starting to come out. So the sun comes through, and it lands on Angela, and it kind of pins her in place, and it starts to burn her until she explodes. So now that everyone is dead, the survivors, which are Sister Gloria, Melissa, Beebe, and Johnny, they leave the house and they return to the school. And you think, oh, nice sunny day, Angela's defeated, everything is over. But as the film starts to end, you see that one of the students finds the demonic lipstick, and it turns into a snake and attacks her, and that's where the film ends. I thought the film, was very well done. Of course, it's more in that campy style of horror film. I think that the first film was probably a little bit more superior than this. But it was still entertaining. It was still fun to watch. It felt maybe a little bit more forced. And, of course, the film is followed up in 1997 by Night of the Demons 3. But I found most of the effects to be quite competent. The acting was what you would expect in this style of B-grade horror. You're not going to find any Oscar performances, but it's really not a terrible film. It's actually quite entertaining to watch. As far as the disc and how it looked, again, there was a slight grain on it. Other than that, it looked absolutely fantastic, sounded absolutely fantastic. Now, as we know, Olive Films does not go into a huge amount of special features, and on this one you have audio commentary with director Brian Trenchard Smith and cinematographer David Lewis. So that is the special feature. And for those of you that like listening to the audio commentaries, again, it's pretty insightful. You hear a lot of interesting things about shot perspective, how the cast and crew got along, things like that. So if you're a completist and you want to know everything you can about the series, I would certainly watch it. As an overall, I would give this disc about a 6.5, 7 out of 10. I really feel like there was a ton of special features that could have been added, but again, that's not quite Olive's style of doing it. It's certainly a film worth picking up. As far as a rating goes, I would give it a 3 out of 5. Again, it doesn't quite hold up to the original Night of the Demons that I think was much more action-packed. I think the pacing was better, the effects work, things like that. But it is really nice to find a hidden gem like Night of the Demons 2 through Olive Films. So I am pretty happy as an overall with the package. I think the artwork, really nice and crisp artwork on the front cover. Just about the same artwork that you saw on the VHS release back in 94. This movie came out February 19th of 2013 on Blu-ray. 95-minute running time. Aspect ratio is 1.78.1, anamorphic widescreen. Make sure to head on over to www.olivefilms.com to pick up your copy of Night of the Demons 2. You should be able to also go on to, I should say, eBay and Amazon to find your copy. If you're lucky, your big box retailer may have this in store. So go check out Night of the Demons 2. Coming up in a few minutes, we're going to go into our feature interview with writer, producer, director, and effects artist Spencer Gray. We're definitely going to be talking about his short film, Snake with a Human Tail, which has certainly got a lot of attention on Facebook, and I've seen people talking about it. I sat down and watched it today, and I was really impressed with the acting job of Marv Bluvat in that. And, of course, we've had Marv on the show before, so I'm going to have to hit him up after the show and talk to him about it. But before we get to that, we're going to go into our second Metal Blade spotlight for the evening. The name of the band is Demonical. The CD is Darkness Unbound. The song is King of All. And that was King of All from the band Demonical. The CD was Darkness Unbound. And after our feature interview, we will hear some more from Demonical. But for our interview, we are going to be talking with effects artist, director, producer, writer, Spencer Gray. And Spencer's really making a name for himself these days with his new short, Snake with a Human Tail. And I had a chance to watch that earlier today, and I found it to be quite an interesting movie, and I liked his choice in actors. So let's go ahead and give Spencer a call.
Please enjoy this Verizon ringback tone while your party is reached.
Oh, nice. We get more music. It's actually kind of creepy in a way.
Hi, this is Spencer. Leave me a message. I'll get right back to you.
At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Let's try this again. Let's try calling Spencer one more time.
Please enjoy this Verizon ringback tone while your
worse,
party
we
is
get to
reached.
listen to Sandman again.
Hola.
Hey, is this Spencer?
It is.
Hey, Spencer, how's it going, man? Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks. It's been a hell of a day, man. Are we live now?
We are live now.
Oh.
It's funny.
I usually get some morning.
I've got fans messaging in right now saying I should do Metal Blade Records presents creepy ringtones.
Your audience got to hear my ringtone?
Oh yeah, they loved it too.
Okay. Well, see, when you call, it plays Mr. Sandman from Halloween 2, and then on my end, it plays the Halloween theme. So
nice.
I'm kind of demented that way. My logic's really, really demented, but in a good way.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Before we start getting into anything too heavy, kind of tell everyone who you are, how you got involved in the industry, and we'll just go through everything until we get to Snake with a Human Tail, because people are talking about that one.
I'm glad to hear it. I'm just a boy standing in front of Hollywood, asking it to love him. I'm not anybody special. I just see myself as a creative guy who has had some lucky breaks and been fortunate enough, even if it's just been day checking or doing appliances or working one day here and one day there, I've done micro-budget films, medium-budget films, large-budget films, television. So Pepsi commercial, which I actually got booted off of for drinking a Diet Coke. I was banned from the set. So, people can be pretentious, man. So,
that's kind of fun.
I've been doing this for 20 years, man, and I finally just said, I just kept hearing the word no on my screenplays, not because they're bad. I'm just refused to water them down. I don't think that's what horror fans want, and I don't want to be known for just being another drop in the bucket. So,
sure.
It's kind of like Sylvester Stallone when he was trying to shop Rocky. He had $100 in his bank account. Burt Reynolds offered him like $10 million for the script because Burt Reynolds wanted to play Rocky. He loved the script. And Stallone said, no, I play Rocky. And, if he had just given up because he was broke, well, I'm not broke, but, you know what I mean.
I know what
I
you mean.
just have that kind of attitude. I stick by my guns, and I don't want people chopping my crap up and making it into some Lifetime horror film. Some Kevin Williamson bullshit.
I have to admit, I didn't know the part about Burt Reynolds wanting to play Rocky and offering still in that kind of money for the script.
Lloyd Kaufman from Troma actually put up most of the seed money for the original Rocky, and check this out, George P. Wilbur choreographed all the fight scenes with Apollo Creed and throughout the movie, So, yeah, man, Rocky has a lot of horror ties to it. I actually got to meet Lloyd and asked him about Rocky, and he said, I don't want to talk about it. Oh, okay, well. I'm not going to bother you in your bow tie, I'm sorry.
Well, we might get back to Lloyd.
I mean, that would love. Do I?
I said we might come back to Lloyd here in a little bit. There's a question about Lloyd I like to ask people that have met him. So we'll get to that
I love
in a little
Lloyd.
bit.
He's a great guy. He's been a hero of mine since I can remember. Man, I saw Toxic Avenger when I was like 10, and I was like, this dude's awesome. So, and he's a great guy in person, and I just give him shit about the bow tie. There's a meteorologist from my hometown in Dallas who's famous for a bow tie, and I met him just in passing in a restaurant, and I gave him crap about his bow tie too. So, but in a nice way, So.
Right. Well, I mean, the hell with it. We'll go ahead and ask you this. The last couple of weeks, Lloyd's name has come up several times on the show with different guests from all different areas of the genre, and one of the things I had wanted to ask was, you look at a guy like Lloyd Kaufman, you look at his relationship to the film Rocky, you talk about the Toxic Avenger, Troma, everything that he's done, the man really doesn't get the respect that's really due of him, Do you ever see a day when Hollywood actually gives the man the credit that he's due?
No.
You don't ever see
Hollywood,
a Lifetime Achievement Award or anything?
No. I mean, it wouldn't surprise. Nothing shocks me, so it wouldn't surprise me. But Hollywood has become a barcode business. It's a big Godzilla monster. It cranks out crap, and we all Bruce Willis and all of them just should get barcodes on the back of their neck. I mean, it's just, Tom Cruise, all of them. It's just. I haven't seen a studio film since, I can't remember. I think Big Hero 6, or I took the kids, all the kids in my life, nieces and nephews and whatnot, and I think that's the last studio film I saw, and I loved the hell out of it because, it had the anime and the manga elements in it, and I don't think the other, and I'm laughing harder than the kids are. And a lot of the adults look bewildered, and I'm like, did you guys just thaw out? I mean, this is great. This is from, this is an homage to, Japanimation. But, I don't know, great film. But I just, of course I go see, Avengers. I have to see that. I got to see Thor. I got to see Hulk. I got to see Guardians of the Galaxy, I mean, stuff I really want to see, I go, but on the flip side, I'll sneak off and, go see, Woody Allen's new movie, at Angelica, some art house film, art house theater, I have a very wide, eclectic I'm just a cinephile. I like, films of all kinds. Just horror happens to be my favorite, so.
Sure. Well, let me ask you about that. I think your take on Hollywood films and the use of the term, barcodes and stuff, I find that interesting, and I don't disagree with you. And I think we're pretty close to the same age. So let me ask you this. Looking back at horror, let's go back to 70s, 80s, 90s, and then we look at modern day horror. Where do you feel like the disconnect really started? Because Hollywood has always kind of looked at horror as the redheaded stepchild of
pornography,
genres. I
mean, it gets equated with the same.
Different? Well, I was going to say, what is it that's so different about the films today that they just, even though more money's being spent and you're using bigger name actors, what is it that's missing from horror films today that we had in spades back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s?
Well, interesting you brought that up because I had a discussion with a buddy of mine and my mom, of all people, she's a big cinephile too, about how movies were, even if it was grindhouse, or exploitation, it was visceral, it made you feel something. People were having heart attacks in the aisles, at Beyond the Door and Exorcist, those days are gone, and, the 70s, the 70s were the 70s as far as cinema, you had Behind the Green Door on one hand, and then you had Caligula, and, the 70s were very experimental. And then you had video nasties in the 80s, which I'm a child of the 80s, and I'm also from, which was the punk rock era, basically. I think the disconnect happened in the 90s, I'm actually do love the film H2O, but I think that's where it started. Great film. Casting choices I was not pleased with. The guy that played Michael Myers walked like a duck, but it was a good movie. It was done very Hitchcockian, and I thought that was just absolutely great. But then after that, here come the remakes and the really lame movies like I Know What You Did Last Summer and I Know What You Did at Summer Camp and American Legends or Legends of the Fall or whatever that legend, Urban Legends,
right.
Legends of the Fall. I feel like an idiot now.
Hey, that was pretty terrifying by itself too, but
Well, it was terrifying because I kept falling asleep. But I think the 90s kind of ruined horror, and then horror became a industry. It became a bottom line. It became about a bunch of guys in suits, probably never seen a horror film, couldn't care less about horror films, couldn't care less about genre fads. And we're the ones, along with the sci-fi nerds and everybody else, we spend the money. We go to the conventions. We buy the T-shirts. We stand in line for hours and hours to get Malcolm McDowell or Rob Zombie to sign our Halloween Blu-ray,
Right.
Even the indie guys like Matt Farnsworth and Fred Vogel, they've got lines around the corner now. And I'm hoping I have a nice little line. I've got a booth at Crimson Screen, so I hope I have a line. You take what you get, but I think that I think the disconnect really happened like around Y2K. Just everything became a business. My God, they're already remaking The Crow. And, hey, why don't you just remake Gone with the Wind, for Christ? Get it over with, man. Remake everything because Hollywood's out of ideas, and they don't want to give any money to all these original writers out there that have these amazing ideas, to scare the pants off of people, and not just scary movies, but dramas and comedies, and it's just
Sure.
if I watch a movie, man, I read more subtitles than I have a huge book collection, so I'm not reading a book or ordering a book. I'm reading subtitles because I tell you, man, I see maybe a trend, or maybe turn the corner. Birdman being so successful, great film, very strange, very bizarre. I love the fact it had a title as long as my arm. I mean, it's just, Emma Stone's great in it. Michael Keaton, man, I had no idea the guy had that kind of acting chops. But
right.
It got props from the Oscars, man. And then there's movies like Foxcatcher and Whiplash, and they're not horror films, but I think the indie movement is really starting to kick the teeth out of Hollywood, and I'm really excited about that, and I hope it continues.
Now, you talked about, you talked about the trend and how, the 90s kind of ruined horror a little bit, and in the 70s and 80s, we had a lot of what we would call gore fests. Mm-hmm. And I would say in the early early to mid 90s, you know, there was kind of I don't want to call it our version of the video nasties, but you know, the horror genre came under fire for a while for graphic violence and sexual content. But then all of a sudden you had movies like
of course you know, all the women in the movies didn't know what razors were, but yeah.
Right. But then towards the end of the 90s you started to have movies like Saw and Hostel and movies like that. So you went into what would be considered the torture porn, you know, era
that was
of the
just
genre.
So, you know, I mean, one movie, you know, I respected Hostel, you know, from the fact, you know, Eli Roth is a great filmmaker. You know, half the movie was Porky's, the other half was torture porn, you know. I got what he was trying to do. But then, you know, the found footage stuff with Paranormal Activity, you know, I respected what they tried to do. It was a nice little enterprise that they set up, but they went crazy with it. Everybody and his brother decided to go out and make this kind of movie or that kind of movie. Is either torture porn, found footage. You know, even Barry Levinson did a found footage film, which actually I thought was one of the scariest ones I'd seen. So I think it was called The Bay or something. But But you know, yeah, it's just, you know, it's like, you know, I call them the suits. You know, they hear cha-ching and they're like, okay, now we want Saw 11, and we don't know how you're going to do it, but we're going to hire the guys from Lost to write it, because you guys at this point are just making this shit up as you go along. So, you know, I mean, it's just like, I haven't seen a Saw movie since the first one, because I liked the first Saw, but I had it figured out. I knew the guy on the floor was the guy. I mean, it was obvious. You know, it should have been obvious to the people in the little room. You know, I mean, if it was me, I would have been smacking that guy around going, okay, I know you're alive, give me the damn key. You know, so, you know, and, you know, I love gore, you know, but I don't want to sit and watch somebody be slowly broken to pieces. And, yeah, I mean, yeah, it has its place, and, you know, it's, you know, good to take, you know, your honey to, and, you know, she gets her fingernails in your arm, and then you go home and you get a little amorous and have a little wine. That's okay. But, you know, just to, like, to be a huge fan of it, it's, you know, I mean, there's people that are writing books about the Saw philosophy. You know, it's nothing original. And his philosophy on it was just the rantings and ravings of a guy who was sick. I didn't see anything profound about Jigsaw. So, you know, and how many times are we going to, I mean, and, you know, pig masks have been used as far back as Motel Hell. You know, it's just nothing original about it to me. So, and then you got the creepy satanic hoods, and, you know, it's like, yeah, okay. You know, whatever, man.
You had mentioned the remake craze and things like that, and, you know, of course we see remakes in all genres, but why do you think we see so much of the horror genre being remade? Like you had said, you know, why not Gone with the Wind? Why not this? Why not that? If you look at what are considered the pillars of the horror genre, every last one of those films have been remade. You know, what is it about the remake craze, and why is it that when it comes to specifically the horror genre, why is it that they don't understand that they could make so much more money if they listened to what the fans wanted?
I think it's because, you know, the demographic that they're targeting is savvy enough and can, you know, pirate this movie, download this movie. They don't even need to go see it. That's why, you know, you're seeing a lot of films, you know, now in theaters and on iTunes, you know, at the same damn time, you know. So I think they kind of picked horror movie as their bastard stepchildren, you know, or, you know, the redheaded stepchild, to get kids to take their dates to it, you know. I don't think they care about our culture, you know. And this is a lifestyle for a lot of people, including myself.
Sure.
You know, they don't They don't care. You know, they just want to say, "Oh, Hills Have Eyes made." Oh, well, Wes Craven's. Wow, man, his net worth is $57 million. Wow, and Hills Have Eyes made what? Well, it's been 30 years. Let's remake that and get the kids back in the audiences. You know, it's just a marketing thing. That's all. It's cut and dry. Just money. That's all it's about.
You know, it's funny because you had mentioned Matt Farnsworth, and he was the very first guest when I started the podcast, and we talked about the Orphan
Super
Killer.
guy.
And I really enjoyed the Orphan Killer. There was a lot about the film that I really enjoyed, and one of the things that he and Diane talked about when they were on was that they had a way of keeping track, and the film had been illegally downloaded over 1 million times.
Right.
You know, for you, you know, because I know you do the festivals and stuff, you know, does it give you pause as a director to have your work shown at something like that? And what are your thoughts now on a lot of indie horror directors just going VOD and making the film available through themselves?
I don't think there's much of a choice. I mean, you know, we started out small, very modest, doing cons. We did Horror Hound, won Best Short. That shocked the shit out of me. I figured everybody would hate it. I really did. I was never so happy. We've won many awards since then. And then I started getting offers like from Hart Fisher at American Horrors and, you know, SV Bell at Black Flag and now Amazon Prime and Xfinity. And there's a whole list of media you can watch Snake with a Human Tail on, either now or coming soon. G-Box, Roku, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Roku, Xbox Live. So, you know, man, if some kid can't afford to buy my movie, then, you know what, then didn't download it, man, you know, and, you know, just don't talk shit about it, you know. I mean, it's like, you know, you got a free movie, you know. I mean, if you can't afford to, you know, to rent it and, you know, and you're savvy enough to download it, you know, I'm flattered, you know. It's when it starts to hurt my pocketbook that I think it's, you know, somebody needs an ass kicking.
Right. Well, let's start getting into your career. Let's start with 1998. You did special effects makeup for the X-Files. You know, can you kind of talk a little?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I have a bad habit of stepping on people.
No, it's okay. Can you tell us a little bit about your experiences with that, and what do you think about the news that's basically been confirmed now that they're bringing the series back?
Oh, man, you know, I'm excited as hell, dude. I was a big X-Files fan. A buddy of mine got me in as a day checker to do some appliances, you know, like on an assembly line kind of thing. You know, a little makeup here, a little makeup there, get people camera ready. I mean, I didn't meet anybody. I didn't party with anybody. I didn't, but it was cool to just, you know, be in that environment, you know, and to learn from people who knew more than I did. So it was 2 days worth of work, you know, and it actually took IMDb an entire year to put that credit up there.
IMDb's a little slow
know,
sometimes.
Do I?
I said IMDb's a little slow sometimes.
Well, you know, they verify the bigger pictures, but I think, you know, if you have some crazy ex-girlfriend who's pissed at you and wants to put that you did gay porn on there, I think it goes up in 30 minutes. I'm not sure.
That's funny.
And then it takes them a year to take it down.
Oh, yeah, I know. There's a couple things on my IMDb, and I'm like, man, that's I didn't work on that film. You guys need to take that off.
Yeah, my good friend William Butler, he said, I hate IMDb with a passion. I said, why? He said, well, there's shit on there I didn't work on, and I can't get them to take it down. He said, I never made this. I never made that. I've never even seen it.
It doesn't matter how many times you message him. It doesn't seem like anyone's listening by the phone for sure.
Well, they need a customer service hotline. But if they have the balls to charge me every month for Prime or Pro or whatever it is, then yeah.
Right. I was going to, because fans wanted me to mention this film real quick. You know, and then in 2000 you were a special effects assistant on Cherry Falls, and I thought the film was interesting because it kind of took the whole dynamic of what happens to you when you're a virgin in these types of films, and it had an interesting mix of characters, and the film really seems like it has a bit of a cult following. You know, do you have any good experiences that you want to talk about with that one?
Really, man, the whole film shocked me. You saw Snake with a Human Tail, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
We will be talking about that here shortly.
The cat out of the bag, the main character, Karma, she's transgender, or third gender. I want to be politically correct here, but live in a sensitive world, and I don't mean that as an insult, but I think that had an impact on me. And I don't know, just out of curiosity, and I hope nobody takes this wrong, but just like with curiosity I have about physics or why people become serial killers or biology or anything else, I developed this fascination about how this can happen to a person. I thought maybe it was some kind of psychotic break, like you said, from a trauma, which in a lot of cases is true, but I started watching a lot of documentaries and reading a lot of books about it. And it always stuck in my mind that I wanted to do a film with a character that is, is a transgender kind of Miss 45 kind of, Jennifer Mills kind of character from I Spit on Your Grave. It's like, for example, the same amount of people born with the transgender brain physiology are the same number of people who are either born intersex or are born with red hair. The statistics are the same.
Huh.
So it's not a freak show. It's not something that people suffer with until they have the transition. People commit suicide, they go crazy, they wind up doing drugs, the other downside is a lot of them do wind up, even after they have the transition, then the downside to that is they can't find work, so they start becoming call girls or doing pornography, things like that. It's really a bad fuck from nature is what I think it is. And I know some transgender people, and there's some of the couple that I know are the nicest people on the planet. I get hate. People send me stupid. To the year 2015, people are, sending me messages. I look at my archived mail at Facebook. I'll accept friend requests. I'm pretty much getting to the point where I'll accept any requests from anybody that's not in the industry, but people sending messages, I'm a tranny chaser, and I'm gay, and I'm this, and I'm that, and I'm devil worshiper, and I hate God, and I'm like, none of that's true. I'm not trying to start unrest or controversy. I'm trying to start a conversation about something that exists in our society. And if you think I'm a freak for doing that, well, fuck you.
Well, no, see.
This isn't a family show, by the way, because I curse a lot.
No, it's not. It's not. I'm just going to go in order, because trust me, we'll have a lot to talk about when it comes to Snake with a Human Tail here in a second. Now, the next film on your resume that you were an effects assistant for again was a film that I remember got a lot of press, and it was actually shown here in North Carolina at the Nevermore Film Festival in Durham, North Carolina, and that was Darkness, and that really, again, that was one of those films that has a bit of a cult following. Can you tell us a little bit how you became involved with that, and if you have any fond experiences from that set?
I do. It was a lot of fun. It was a very dark film. We had no money. what's her name? Suki.
Anna Paquin?
Yeah, she, it's back before she was anybody, it was, I only worked, a handful of days, and it was just kind of it was just, it was another learning experience, and I had a good time, and got to meet some cool people, and, really learn a lot. Another film I worked on, Joey Lauren Adams was involved in, and I got to actually spend Christmas Eve with her and her boyfriend and Eileen Dietz. You get to, you start making friends with people, and it becomes your network base. That's the most important thing to me. Getting to work's cool, but when you have people's numbers, and you can, feel the water out years later and text them, and, maybe they can't help you with something or won't help you with something or don't even respond, they can direct you to the next guy, So it's
right.
The networking for me, But, yeah, don't get me wrong. Working on any film's fun. Well, not any film. I worked with Tom Sizemore on 2 films, and that was not fun.
2005 saw you work on something, and this just absolutely intrigued me the minute I saw it. You were a special effects assistant and technician on Walker, Texas Ranger Trial by Fire, which was a TV movie. First of all, straight out the gate, I got to ask, did you get to meet Chuck Norris?
I got my ass kicked by Chuck Norris. That's
Tell
a good
us about
party
that experience.
Story.
Well, because this was the first film that you also acted in, correct? You played a biker in that.
It was, yeah. Well, I've got sleeves, and I'm not talking about, like, clothes. I'm completely sleeved. People ask me how many tattoos I have. I say I have no idea. My hair was long at the time. I had this Manson beard. I kind of looked like Phil from Pantera back during his days when I don't think he took a bath or shaved for a long time, but at least that days I just kind of liked the look. And they said, "Do you know how to ride a bike?" And I've been riding bikes my whole life, I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Well, we're down a guy, he's got the flu, and can you stand in?" And I said, "Yeah, I can ride a bike up to Chuck Norris, And they said, "Well, he's going to kick you." And I was like, "For real?" They were like, No. He knows what he's doing. And we rehearsed it a couple of times, and I swear his boot came within a nano inch from my nose, and then I fall down and do the big dramatic television belly flop onto the ground, and then that's my big acting debut. And then I played a prisoner who screams curse words at Michael Pere in the prison riot scene in William Butler's Furnace. I play, and same reason, long hair, long beard, lots of tattoos. I'm there working on the effects crew. William Butler grabs me and says, "Hey, go get in costume. I need another inmate." And I'm like, "But I like behind the camera." But as
I'm kind of with you on that. I'm pretty. Most of my work's been in the effects field, and there's been a couple of times I've been asked to go in front of the camera, and my response was very similar to yours. But I like behind the camera.
Well, I'll tell you, Furnace. If you get it on DVD, and here's a funny thing, I'm on the DVD menu. My mug is on the DVD menu. I don't know how that happened. I think maybe it was like William Butler, because we're such good friends, or as off and on through the years. I think, and at the time we were really close. I think he maybe did it as an inside joke. I don't know, because he knew I really didn't want to do a cameo. I just wanted to do the blood and the effects. I mean, I'm not saying anything bad. I had a good time. I was just. Really, I just get nervous when I always feel self-conscious, I wind up with my ugly mug on the Furnace DVD menu with Michael Pere and Tom Sizemore and Ja Rule and Danny Trejo, and I'm like, I'm nobody. Why is my face with these guys? So I kind of think it was a joke. He never told me that, so I don't know the reason, but I did, got to be a part of a full body burn in that film, and I was scared to death. I was hoping we didn't kill this guy, and yeah, man, I've done a lot of stuff, a lot of crazy stuff too. So yeah.
So
been fun though.
Is Danny Trejo's public persona the same as he is in person?
Dude, he's the nicest man I've ever met.
I've heard that several times.
He is the nicest, I actually have his phone number, personal phone number. I don't have to go through his agent. Now, we don't talk every day. I mean, we don't go out and have beers, but he would, I was sitting there eating craft services, and there's no place to eat. All these picnic tables at this abandoned prison where we shot Furnace, and all the actors are eating together, and I'm kind of eating by myself, and Danny comes and sits down right across from me and asked me if I knew Jesus Christ, and I was like, well, not personally, but it turns out he would rap, and he would go down the street to the functioning real prison, and he would do a prison ministry. He would witness to incarcerated inmates. And I just thought that was the neatest thing I think I'd ever seen an actor do. Sean Penn shows up at Katrina, takes a photo, gets back on this helicopter and leaves. This guy's for real,
right?
And I got nothing but love for Trejo, man. When he got his own movie, man, I was like, you deserve it, buddy. So.
Oh yeah, and he's a guy on the short list. One of these days I want to land him for the podcast because I think he would be absolutely amazing. And I really loved the Snickers commercial during the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, with Marsha. Doesn't Buscemi look like John Waters in that commercial?
Yes. At first I thought that's who it was. When I saw it, I was like, "There's no way in hell that's him."
Until he spoke,
I really respect Danny for
that voice. Steve Buscemi's got the kind of voice that like when you hear yourself back on a tape recorder, that you're hoping you don't sound like, so, like when you listen to one of your podcasts back, you're hoping, God, I hope I don't sound really bad,
Oh yeah, I do that every episode.
Oh, dude, some of my podcasts I don't even listen to. I mean, not because I didn't dig doing it or didn't have a good time, but I'm like, God, I hope I didn't say anything stupid, because sometimes I get kind of enthusiastic, and then I'm like, God, I hope I didn't say the wrong shit, No,
this is a free show. You can say whatever the hell you want on my show, so let it go. But that's really cool about Danny. The other actor I know who does that a lot is Mel Novak. He does a lot of prison ministry stuff. He plays a tough guy in a lot of stuff. So it's funny that you look at two guys that are considered badasses in film are out doing such great work in the prison systems.
Right. Well, Danny did time, and he's not ashamed of it. I'm not outing him. A lot of people do know this. And when he got out, he just kind of lucked into acting and said, you know what, I'm going to give back. The universe blessed me, and that's his attitude. And he actually arrived on the set of Furnace at that prison, the abandoned one. They actually shot Green Mile, Last Castle there, some of Prison Break. He arrives in a helicopter. And he gets off, and Kane Hodder was actually supposed to play his role, but Kane's sister passed away or something like that. And I kept asking Billy, who's replacing him? Who's replacing him? He's like, you'll see. And I'm like, oh, this is either going to be really good or really bad. And, Tom Sizemore's having one of his fits. And this helicopter lands, and off comes Danny Trejo. No entourage, no security. And I just walk up and give this guy a hug. And I'm thinking this guy's either going to cut my throat or he's going to hug me back. And he was like, oh, man, hey, you got a Marlboro? So I gave him one of my cigarettes. And I think I made a friend that day. So
That's funny. Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you, and we're going to move on to Snake with a Human Tail here for about the last 20 minutes of the show, but, you know, what led you initially into getting into effects, and then what led to you stepping outside of that into acting and directing?
Well, acting has always been an accident or a favor. It's just, that's just, I've never actively pursued acting. I just never have. I did some plays in high school, and then I got into effects, and we did Dracula in Bram Stoker's Dracula in college, and I came up with these ideas to do these amazing effects, and I was like, wow, I'm pretty damn good at this. And, you know, back in, you know, when I was in college, there wasn't the internet. I couldn't look up how to do da-da-da-da. You know,
Same with
I
me.
mean, I couldn't call Dick Smith on the phone and say, hey, how can I do da-da-da? You know, so, you know, and I thought I had a knack for it. And then there was an internship. My brother and I applied for it, this movie studio, Las Colinas in Dallas, and they were shooting like portions of JFK there, portions of RoboCop, like Pepsi commercial I got thrown off of, Walker, Texas Ranger, and that's another funny story about Walker. Please don't kill me, Chuck. Please forgive me, but Chuck Norris is not very tall.
Right.
So all the sets are half size. Like the doorways are not regular size. They're scaled down. So when he walks through a door, he looks like he fills it up. And the sets are gimbaled to where the tall actor stands on the low side, Chuck Norris stands on the high side. So they'll be eye to eye. So I was like, that is a lot of trouble to go to. I was like, man, this is crazy. But he is a super nice guy, very Christian guy. You know, I'm not religious, but, you know, anybody that's got a genuine faith and light about them, I respect it.
Oh, I so have an idea for a film script, and I need Chuck Norris to be in it. It's Chuck Norris and zombies. The merchandising alone would make you a millionaire, make us all millionaires.
What are you going to call it? Walker? You can just call it Walker? Like
something. I don't know. It's just,
like,
you know, of course you would have to have Chuck play the role of the sheriff just as a spoof thing, but think about audience reaction when the camera pans up and it's Chuck Norris. I mean, people would lose their shit in the theaters.
Oh, I think so too, man.
Let's get to the film that has all the excitement, and we're talking about Snake with a Human Tail. I really enjoyed your cast. In fact, we're going to have a special caller in about 8 minutes. They wanted to surprise you on the air. But
God.
You had talked earlier. You had talked earlier
about. Does this person like me or hate me?
Oh, this person I'm sure loves you.
Oh, okay.
And I mean that. Yes, it's a good thing. I don't want to give away the surprise. They would be upset, but
okay. All right. Well, I'll be a good boy.
Well, you don't have to be good. I'm pretty sure that they will go along with any debauchery that we chose to throw out there. You had talked about transgendered characters, and when you look back in the history, first of all, do you consider Snake with a Human Tail a horror film or a horror short?
No, I don't. I consider it a story.
Okay.
It's a hard watch. It's mean. It's sleazy. It's nasty. It's got, some nods to like Lucio Fulci, I Spit on Your Grave, Miss 45. These things are not secrets. So, somebody accused me the other day is that, even the title kind of reminds me of Snake, a woman with a lizard skin from Lucio Fulci. I was like, the homage to Fulci is very obvious. I'm not ripping him off like some directors rip things off and win Academy Awards. Excuse me.
Right.
But it's just we were having fun with it, and the title came to me. I wasn't even thinking about that Fulci film when I came up with the title. So, what was your original question?
Well, what I was going to ask you was, you had kind of talked about the transgendered character in general when it comes to film. And you know, when you look back at transgender character in horror, you know, you're looking at characters like Norman Bates from Psycho. You're looking at Angela from Sleepaway Camp. You know, things like that. You know, even Lloyd Kaufman touched on it in Terror Firmer. You know,
yeah, Terror Firmer.
Oh God, that movie made me laugh so much. But
whoever that chick that was screwing the guy in the junkyard, I'm still trying to find her. But go ahead. The dark-headed girl. Oh my God.
That was Debbie Rochon, wasn't it? Was that Debbie Rochon character? I thought it may have been. I think it was. I think that was her character in the film.
Didn't look like her.
I just had her on last week. We were talking about Terror.
Well, you know she's in Left Hand Lords, so that's my feature I'm shooting in June. So. Oh,
nice. She's great. Yeah. I'm glad that you're going to be working with her. She's a sweetheart.
I met her once in passing, and she was just super sweet. And you know, she's come up through some hard stuff, and I respect her a lot. So. Oh
yeah. But back to the initial question, you know, you talk about the transgender characters, and you know how the characters have a certain level of strength that people who normally are in those conditions don't convey or have. You know, kind of talk about what led to you choosing a transsexual character for the film. And how do you feel transsexuals have been portrayed in cinema in recent years?
A lot of films have been done right. A lot of films have been done without much research, so they kind of turned out bad. My character, Karma, I named her Karma for a reason. Really, she did not change her identity and gender because of a genetic anomaly in her mind. She was not born that way. She was made that way. And it was the first step in, as growing into an adult. She figured this was the only way that she could get close enough to this sadomasochistic pedophile priest that totally ruined her childhood and her life when she was Henry O'Brien. So it really became part of a master plan. I mean, it's like, how far would you go when you have nothing left? You don't even feel like you're dead inside. You don't even have a soul. How far would you go to get back at the person and ruin the life of the person that ruined your life? So it was really kind of like, I'm going to change my identity. I'm going to change my gender. I'm going to, you know, establish this whole persona. She becomes a prostitute and a drug addict, and then finally finds Father Fulci again. And then the games begin. And it really, the twist is not whether or not she's transgender. That's so easy to figure out in the minute she's on screen. And she's talking to her little friend Kennedy, that's also a prostitute. Right. The twist is the revenge. And that's it's always fun to be in the audience and watch people's jaws hit the floor because, you know, it's like most revenge in horror films is like, you know, guy gets shoved off a building and lands on a pipe, you know, and that always makes me mad, you know. It's like I want to see the villain get cremated, you know. I want to see him suffer, you know, and Father Fulci does suffer, and it's a revenge that's going to last forever. So.
Now, one of the reasons that the film was brought to my attention is a good friend of mine on Facebook and in life, Anthrax, helped do a little bit with the trailer. The picture that we used for promotional purposes was one that she worked on. Kind of talk about for a quick second how you met Ann and how much she helped you getting word out about the film.
I accidentally called her on New Year's Eve on Facebook. I just bought my iPad, and just by accident, I called her, and I was like, "Oh shit, I don't even know this person." I hung up, and she called me back, and then we just got to be friends. And we talked, you know, on IM and stuff, and you know, because we have a lot of the same interests. But she's just turned out to be such a fantastic friend and supporter of the film, and she's talented, and she, you know, she'll do anything in the world for you, and I just love her to death. So.
Yeah, she is extremely talented. She writes amazing poetry. Her artwork is amazing. There's
Hey, by the way, speaking of her, she's overseas. I heard. Well, I know here. I know she is. But speaking of overseas,
she just got home. She just walked in the front door.
Well, did you hear that? Our film got banned in Serbia?
But see, that's always a good thing. The minute
your
movie starts getting banned in other countries, it's on.
Yeah, our new poster we're going to be debuting at. We're going to do a big reveal with a banner and a big poster that says "Now banned overseas." So
nice.
Yeah, it's like I feel like I feel like the guy that made Serbian film or name escapes me. I can never remember his name. The guy that made I Spit on Your Grave. I feel like how could I not be giggling? I'm banned in Serbia, really. And I mean, what's next? Am I going to be banned in? Yeah, I mean, so it's like it kind of limits our film festivals, but hey, I don't care. London loved it. We showed it at a film festival in London, and people were sending me photos holding up. One guy wrote "Snake with a Human Tail" on his back in lipstick, and it was, some very inappropriate things I couldn't post on Facebook, but it was kind of cool, I'm like going, God, these people really dug this movie. So
now, I talked about we're going to have a guest, and I talked about how much I enjoyed the casting and just the overall feel of the film. Very grindhouse and things like that. And in a second, Marv Blavelt's going to join us, and I really, really enjoyed him in the role of Fulci in the film. And as a matter of fact, hello,
Marv is a terrific friend.
Hey, first, can you hear me?
Oh yeah,
What's
we can
up,
hear you.
Son of a bitch? How you doing, man?
Well, first, before we go, I just want to say I love you, Spencer. You were like, does he love me or does this person love me or hate me? Well, obviously I love you because you pretty much revived my career and you're a dear friend. And then secondly, you guys at Horror Society, I love you, brother. And secondly, you guys at Horror Society have supported me from day one, way back in 2005. I love what you guys do. I tell you what, it's a good combination, Spencer and Horror Society. I love to
we love what you do too. Now, let me ask you, since I have you both on here, Spencer, I'm sure when you wrote the role, you had a very specific vision for the character in mind. What led to you offering the part to Marv? And Marv, when you read it, what were your initial thoughts of the script?
I had Marv in mind when I was writing it. I actually had seen his films. I had him in mind. I mean, literally in my brain. When I write, I always picture some actor. Even if I know I can't cast him, I couldn't afford him or where. I had Marv. I literally had Marv in mind writing the entire thing, and it just flowed. And
that means a lot to me, by the way.
Yeah, and I sent it to him. He thought I wanted him to play Billy Blair's character, Dr. Bloom, and I was like, no, I want you to play the sick fuck.
Well,
see, now how does that make you feel, Marv? Does that make you feel good?
Yeah, actually, well, it's funny because I had, and Spencer, this is like a story that everybody hears, and Spencer knows this. I'd given up acting, moved back to Indiana.
So
I quit. I'd quit, yeah. And so I get this script from Spencer and from Matt Chasen, my manager, and it's like, oh my God, it's like, I read it.
Well, actually, I slapped you around a little bit first for quitting, and then I sent you the script.
You and about a half a dozen people, absolutely, yes. You were one of the first. So I read the script. I thought, oh my God, this, and of course I thought I was playing the doctor because I played doctors before in different movies, and so I get the script and I'm like, oh yeah, the doctor sounds cool, and then he's like, no, I want you for the priest, and it was like one of those Hannibal Lecter moments. It's like, what kind of, what else could this character be fucked up with? I mean, he's a pedophile, he's a necrophiliac, he's he's almost satanic, and it just, you know, it was one of those roles.
So he's
like,
a necrophiliac who thinks that the dead body's God.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and what else could be wrong with this guy? And I thought, you know, this is the role that it's either going to sink me, which doesn't matter because I quit anyway, or it's going to really, you know, put me on the map. And so, you know, and I'd played a child molester before in Sculpture, but this was totally different. This was 100 times worse than the character I played in Sculpture. So I said, what the fuck, you know, and went to Dallas and met Spencer and had, we'd already been talking on the phone, and just an awesome guy. I love him to death. He's like a brother to me. And then, you know, the cast, I was very intimidated to be working with, you know, Billy Blair. You know, it's like, oh my God, the guy works with, you know, Rodriguez. He just did Sin City and Machete. And, you know, and then when my first scene that we shot was that scene in the psychiatrist's office with Billy, and it was so smooth, it went so well. It was like getting back on a bike. It was like the two of us had such chemistry.
It's like they'd known each other forever. It
really was. It was a very cat and mouse kind of scene. It so reminded me of Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins. I'm going to, talk big here, but it was such a great cat and mouse scene that, you know, we started out the scene with me being very intimidated by him, and using that scene with him being very freaked out by me. And Spencer's direction on that was on. I mean, it was like precise. It was like, I want him to be uncomfortable when you leave. And we nailed that scene. That scene, I thought, you know, you had a 10-minute scene of us talking about my perversions, and I thought, you know, audiences are really going to get bored with this, or they're going to be enthralled. Every screening I've been to, people are sucked into that scene because it's just disgusting, and we show nothing. I mean, it's all just dialogue. So,
well, the thing is that, I hate to interrupt, but the thing is that feedback I get from people have told me that scene in Dr. Bloom's office, just you two guys talking, they say, you know, besides the ending, the twist at the ending, say it's the most disturbing part of the film. Not one person has said I got bored or my mind drifted off. They were like, oh my God, there's people like this in the world. I mean, it was like a wake-up call. People were like really seeing the underbelly of the beast of the world that we live in, and you know that there's fuckers out there like that'll do that to your children, and you know and you know Marv comes off kind of shy and avuncular at first, and then you know Billy's in control, and then it flips to where Father Fulci's in control, and Billy Blair does this great Gary Oldman thing where he's just like, I can't believe I'm talking to this person. This guy's not even human. You know.
Well, you know, and I would agree with that assessment. You know, a lot of people would sit there and look at that scene and go, "Oh, it's a dialogue scene." But I think what really sets that scene off between Billy and Marv is the fact it's almost in the cool. I think you'll understand it when I say it. The coolness and the detachment of how Marv is telling everything to the camera.
We think it's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, but it's not only that, but it's the way that Billy's character responds too. There's such a detachment, like they're talking about taking a walk in the park or driving down the highway. There's such a removal of emotion from that entire dialogue sequence that you're right. It draws you in, and then you realize after you watch it. And you know, you go on to the next scene, you realize that the hair on your arms is standing up, that your skin is crawling.
Yeah. It's like, you know, my assistant director kept telling, well, there's a couple of scenes where Billy puts, you know, it's you know, kind of a no-no for actors to cover their mouth during a scene. And there was a few times where, you know, Billy covered his mouth with a handkerchief. And my assistant director said, you know, you might want to reshoot that. You know, you know the rule. And I said, well, rules are made to be broken. I want to, you know, show that, you know, he's keeping his cool, but this is really kind of, he's showing his emotion like he wants to vomit.
Right.
You know.
Oh yeah.
But he's cool as a cucumber about it.
Now, another thing I wanted to ask you, especially, you know, with a scene like that dialogue scene, and then, of course, Marv scenes later on in the film where we see Fulci much more in action, so to speak. You know, how much of it was straight script? You ran straight off the script, and how much improvisation was there in that?
Marv had a great improv he did with the severed head scene that he thinks is God, and that he eventually winds up doing some unmentionable things too. But Marv totally improv that, and I give him total credit for it. Good job.
Thank you. That's the only. I tell you what, I'm one of these actors who really doesn't like watching my own work. I'm very critical of my own work, and I don't know. I mean, you probably hear that from everybody, but that's the one scene that of everything I've done, and I've done, for 20 films, that's the one scene that I watch and I actually give myself the creeps. I'm like, oh, God, that's disgusting. It's disturbing.
Yeah, and the head's talking back. I mean, it was done, the effect was done so well, I thought, that it's just one of those things that, you feel like you got bugs crawling on your skin.
Oh, yeah, and the thing was with that scene was that was added to the script later.
And we had live maggots.
Yes, we did. Yeah, I picked them up, and it was so hot in that hotel room where we were shooting. It was in a really seedy hotel room that they were squirming everywhere because heat makes insects really lively. So, but yeah, that was a scene. That scene was added when we get to Texas, and I'm so glad it was because it's really adds to the dementia of that character. And then when I was shooting with Sherry, I have great chemistry with Sherry Davis too. Even though it's very confrontational. The scene in the hotel room where she meets me and it turns into basically a rape. We had lived a little bit of that, but a lot of it was saved the script. But I think it was so intense that some dialogue came out that was pretty brutal.
It was pretty organic.
Yeah, it was. It really was. Can I tell the story about the bottle? Spencer, do you mind if I
tell
the story?
Yeah, dude, you almost killed her with it. You'd be crazy not to tell that story.
so
we ordered the one candy glass breakaway bottle that's made a little too hard.
Oh my God! So I was so in character. I was so like enraged. That character gets enraged. At that moment, and I just went ballistic. And the one bottle, like Spencer said, was like the hardest candy, glass bottle that was there. So I grabbed that bottle and I just slammed it over her head just as hard as possible. And then Spencer yelled, "Cut!" And Sherry kind of slumped over and she was, "Oh my!" And I hear her moaning. She says, "Oh my God, that hurt!" And I'm surprised I didn't knock her out because she said that was, and I think she had some blood. I was very, it freaked me out because I thought.
But she was
terrible.
A trooper, man. She was
she was amazing.
She was like, just give me 5 minutes and we'll finish. I mean, she's like just got brained with a bottle, and then she's like, okay, let's get this rape scene over with.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, girl, you are a trooper, and you are a rock star. I love you. So.
Oh yeah.
But I felt bad though, man. I was like, dude, we didn't hurt her, did we? It's like we're making this really intense, sick film, and then we all become like these angels, these caretakers after I yell cut, and we're just all fawning over her, going, please God, don't be dead, no stitches.
Oh my God.
And we had like security, our own security outside. We had Fort Worth police outside. I mean, it wouldn't have been hard to get her to a hospital, but she's like, oh, fuck that, man. Let's keep going. I was like, you are a soldier.
She was great. It reminded me, I saw a seminar with the original cast of Friday the 13th. I'm friends with, Adrian King and Ari Lehman and, Betsy Palmer. And I saw a seminar with the cast, years ago. And Betsy was on stage with Adrian, and they asked her about the fight at the end of the movie. And I guess they had to pull Betsy aside and say, you can't be as mean, because she kept slapping Adrian like real slaps. And you can't be, they pulled her aside, the director, Cunningham, pulled her aside and said, listen, you can't continue hurting the lead actress. So that's what it kind of reminded me of. I didn't.
Well, the film has gotten such a fanfare right now, and you guys have taken it out there on the indie circuit and everything. Real quick, can you tell us about what's response been like to your performance, Marv, and what have people have been saying to you in general about the film, Spencer?
You want me to go first, Spence, or you want to go first, or?
Everything I've been to, Culture Shock, Horror Hound, DOA Bloodbath, Twisted Tales, which is an animal charity that I've been involved with for, I think that last year was our 4th year. We've shown a lot of festivals. Even I couldn't even attend the one in San Diego that Marv won Best Actor at. Yeah. I mean, people are just, we're getting standing O's, and I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
people actually applaud at the end, and even though there's this great, well, I shouldn't say that because that would give too much away, but even though the revenge twist, it does sacrifice one person, but people, it's like, what happens to Father Fulci after? People are like applauding. A couple of guys even stood up and were like, fuck yeah, that's gonna hurt for a while, man.
It's been a great ride, I tell you. And it's
never been done. Never been done in a movie that I know of.
Great ending. It was a gamble that Spencer and myself and Sherry and Billy all took to do a film with such a dark and edgy subject matter that's really never been done either. And, I think the gamble's paid off. Winning Best Actor in San Diego was amazing. I mean, I was up against people like Bill Oberst and Robert Mukes and Joe Manetti, some really great actors that I respect majorly. So I was totally shocked by that accolade. And, it's funny because I'm getting messages.
I knew you'd get it, man. I mean, I love Bill. He's in my next film as well, but... dude, I knew down in the pit of my stomach you were going to walk home with that award, man.
Oh, well, thank you, man. Thank you. It's as an actor, to do a role like that, if it's if you do one role that resonates with people, and, so far this is the one after, 17, or about 22, 23 film roles, that's, you've done your job. And, I'm not that evil. I don't go around.
You're not that evil.
So what's funny is I'm pretty strong.
It's just a hobby.
It's just a hobby, yeah. But I'm going to put together new acting realm back in LA, and obviously a lot of the stuff from Snake will be on there. And it's I'm actually doing a comedy horror film next, so I kind of need a break from the darkness and from all the seriousness, So, but yeah, of everything that I've done, the response to this film has been by far the biggest. So, in all positive.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and go ahead.
I was going to say we're right up here against the end. But I wanted to ask you guys, kind of tell us about some of the next couple of things you have coming up. I know, Spencer, you've started boxing again, if you want to touch on that, and where people can find you guys, social media, Facebook, web pages, things like that.
The boxing I'm just doing as a hobby. Like Marv's got his evil as his hobby. I just fought, or actually didn't fight. I sparred with 4-time world heavyweight kickboxing champion Scott Conan Mincy. He's coming out of retirement to fight in the Yukon, and I've had 2 fights since then. I actually won a trophy. Wow, man. I mean, I've never won a trophy before. Yeah, and it was really cool. I put the pictures up on Facebook, and I'm proud of it. And at my age, people in my life, like my mom, you shouldn't be doing that. You're getting too long in the tooth. I'm like, hey, you know what? I can still throw some punches. I handled myself against a champ. I mean, I didn't win. It was kind of a draw, really. We didn't really try to hurt each other, but it showed me that a fight's going to kick you the real deal. It's the ultimate perspective on where you are as a person. Because you never know somebody till you hit them, and you never know yourself till you get hit. So. It'll always kick you the truth and the real deal about yourself, And if I could mention Left Hand Lords, we start production on that in June. If you want to hear about it, it's going to be a very dark story. Bill Oberst, Melantha Blackthorne, Melanie Rebell,
that's a good cast.
Chanel Ryan, Katrina Matusik Ryan, Richard Ryan, Timothy Quill from Army of Darkness, lots of great people. If I left anybody out, please forgive me. But it's a story about, corruption and televangelism, satanic fever dreams, kind of like Ken Russell-ish kind of a film. Innocence lost and regained, and it goes back to ancient characters, not in like a lame way, but, back to like the time of Adam's second wife, Lilith, it's just, and I've been doing a lot of research from actual real text, real books like, the Grimoire Verum and, just really trying to make it as real as I can. And if I could do a couple of plugs, you can catch Snake with a Human Tail. We are going to be May 15th through 17th at South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, at the Crimson Screen Horror Fest. We're going to have a booth there. Going to be debuting my comic book series with Chris Young, and Anthrax has been helping out on that. 11 magazine that I'm in, I'm going to be signing. Diabolique magazine that I'm in, I'm going to be signing. Going to be giving away T-shirts. We're going to be at the Kevin Smith Fandom Fest August 8th. And also, if you're a Dallas person listening, check out Chaz Buchanan's. He's having another film and investor mixer. If you're trying to find some money for your film, it's this Friday at Brown Lane Studios, 1499 Regal Road, Dallas, Texas. Hope I didn't run your time out.
So,
Marv, anything real quick?
I could say. Actually, I tell you what, I'm returning to my roots. What got me into acting in the first place. I just turned 50 years old last week, returning to competitive bodybuilding. Thank you. Returning competitive bodybuilding. That's where I started as a bodybuilder. That's what got me noticed. Still hit the gym.
You're actually telling your real age. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, believe it or not. Yeah. So I'm returning to that, and I've been cranking it hard in the gym. I'm actually producing a short film with Mo Whelan, who did a lot of work in L.A., Hollywood, and it's called Dinner with the Dwyers. It's written by my two favorite writers, Spencer Gray and Trevor Wright, and I started my career working with Trevor on Sculpture, Psycho Street, Green Monster. So he wrote the script called Dinner with the Dwyers. It's a horror comedy. Got a great cast. I got the best-known tranny in horror history, Felissa Rose, who's a dear friend. I've done 4 or 5 movies with her. She's playing my wife.
She was the first tranny.
The first tranny in horror history, yes. And I think Sherry is probably the second. So I get to work with Felissa again. I love Felissa. Also, Jared Dugato from 300. He's been a killer. And Tiffany Brofest, who was in Circus of the Dead. She's going to be an up-and-coming screenwriter. Who's also I love Tiffany. So we got a really funny, dark comedy. It's about a college girl brings home a very well-known serial killer to meet her family for dinner, and they know he's a killer, and they turn out to be a little bit more screwed up than he is. So it's kind of a little twist. So doing that, I've done several comedies. I like comedy. Actually like comedy just as well.
And also Marv and I and a couple other great people, don't know if it's okay to mention or not, are working on a project probably for next year called Straight Jacket Romance that I wrote.
Yes.
And,
hope to get that off the ground.
It's going to be the horror fan's ultimate horror dream.
Yep.
So
I love that script. Amazing script, and rumor has it there may be some more. We may not have seen the last of Father Fulci. So yes. So I'd love to reprise that role in any capacity. And then just say I'm meeting with some filmmakers. It's funny because I've been doing a lot of internet commercials for a company in Burbank, and I've become the face of erectile dysfunction. I've done 4 ED commercials and an infomercial, so that's kind of freaking me out, but it pays well. So but that's what I'm working on, man.
You did an erectile dysfunction commercial?
I did 2.
I want 3 samples. No, I'm kidding.
The company's out of Sweden, and they like me so much they hired me for a 45-minute infomercial, which I shot last week. So
I think you should only do it. I think you should do it in the Father Fulci character. That would just put a different twist on the whole damn thing.
With the horns and the blood.
With the horns and the blood. That'd be perfect.
There you go. Well, gentlemen, thank you for being on the show. Marv, you know this, and Spencer, if you don't know it, you guys are always welcome on the show. If you ever have any news,
you, brother.
Send it over. we'll get it up on Horror Society.
Oh, you guys
Thank
are
you,
the best.
brother.
And love you
Anytime,
all.
man.
Thank you. Hey, Spence, let's talk soon. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon.
We love you too, man. Thanks a lot.
All right, bye. Take it easy,
Bye.
guys.
All right, bye-bye.
And once again, ladies and gentlemen, that was writer, producer, director, and effects artist Spencer Gray and the fabulous actor Marv Blavelt. They were on talking about A Snake with a Human Tail, as well as a bunch of their other work. Coming up in a few minutes, we're going to do our second digital dismemberment spotlight for the evening, where we will be covering Scream Factory's special edition Blu-ray release of Invaders from Mars. But before that, we're going to play the final song in our Metal Blade spotlight. Once again, the name of the band is Demonical. The CD is Darkness Unbound. The song is The Great Praise. You just heard the great praise from Demonical and their CD Darkness Unbound. Make sure to head on over to metalblade.com to get the latest on all of the great metal that you have heard this evening. But ladies and gentlemen, once again, it is time for some digital dismemberment.
Digital dismemberment.
And in our final digital dismemberment spotlight for the evening, we are reviewing Scream Factory's special edition Blu-ray release of Tobe Hooper's Invaders from Mars. Making its Blu-ray debut on April 7th of this year, Invaders from Mars comes loaded with bonus features, including an all-new audio commentary from director Tobe Hooper, the new retrospective The Martians Are Coming, The Making of Invaders from Mars, which features interviews with director Tobe Hooper, actor Hunter Carson, special creature effects artists Alec Gillis and Gino Crognell, and composer Christopher Young. There's also galleries for the original storyboards and original production illustrations. As an additional bonus, fans who order their copy from shoutfactory.com will have their orders shipped 2 weeks early. From the director of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Life Force, this space-age creature feature is crawling with horrifying hordes of Martians hell-bent on stealing your soul, as well as your planet. Little David Gardner's starry-eyed dreams turn into an out-of-this-world nightmare when invaders from the Red Planet land in his backyard and unleash their hostilities on unsuspecting Earthlings. Paralyzed with fear as the aliens take over the minds of his mom, dad, and even his schoolmates, David must somehow find a way to stop them before they turn the whole human race into brain-dead zombies. Showcasing special effects from John Dykstra and the creations of Stan Winston, and starring Karen Black, Hunter Carson, Timothy Bottoms, Louise Fletcher, James Karen, and Bud Cort, this thrilling remake is a must for horror fans. Really enjoyed this. Again, as I had mentioned earlier, this is one of those films that I have not seen in years since it came out. But it has an absolutely stellar cast and crew. I mean, you talk about Karen Black just out of the gate. Timothy Bottoms, James Karen, and of course this is a remake of the 1953 version. Jimmy Hunt, who played David Gardner's character in the 1953 film, actually plays the police chief in this 1986 version. So there's a little bit of a tie in between the remake and the original. And sadly, this movie really didn't do all that well at the theaters. It had a $12 million budget and only made back about 4.8 of that. One of the things that I thought was really cool about this were the visual effect or the special effects, and of course, with Stan Winston being involved and Mr. Dykstra as well, that really should not come as any kind of surprise. And basically, what happens is David's father works for NASA. His mom is going to school for real estate, it looks like. And there's a bright flash in the sky in their backyard. Well, the father goes out to investigate, and the next morning he seems a little strange, a little off. And David goes to school, and he starts to notice more and more people acting strangely, and eventually his mom starts to act the same way as well. It's kind of funny, seeing Karen Black, and she's a school nurse, and once David figures out kind of what's going on and he confides in her, at first she doesn't believe him, but it's amazing at the same time how many connections the school nurse has to the FBI and to the Army. But as the aliens begin to take over the town, they begin to take over more and more of the inhabitants by placing some kind of probe in the back of their neck. as the film rolls on and the Marines move in to destroy the aliens, when you see some of the various formations of the aliens, you think of giant krites from the film Critters, and I thought it was very well done, very believable, including the head alien intelligence. Basically they run their machines and everything off of copper, which of course our planet has plenty of. But other than that, the motivations of what the aliens are and why they're trying to take over are never fully explained. Young David eventually manages to lead the Marines into the main room and kill off the majority of the aliens, with only the lead presence remaining. So they set bombs in the ship, and as the ship takes off into space, it is blown up, and all of the transceivers and all of the victims are destroyed. So we think that's the end of the film, and then we get all the way to the end, and there's a bright flash of light, and it looks like the UFO is back, and David goes into his parents' room, and he sees something which the camera does not show, and the film just cuts away. A fun, kind of campy, but not over-the-top type of film. Great to watch with your friends. It's a great creature feature. The thing that's amazing about this are all of the incredible special features, of course, which have already been mentioned. There's the new audio commentary with director Tobe Hooper. There's the featurette The Martians Are Coming, The Making of Invaders from Mars, which is an all-new retrospective featuring interviews with director Tobe Hooper, actor Hunter Carson, special creature effects artist Alec Gillis and Gino Crognell, and composer Christopher Young. That is an absolutely fantastic look behind the scenes. There's a lot of talk about the effects, the set actually catching fire, how Toby wanted certain things to look like the ship was actually a living, breathing piece of something. There are 2 theatrical trailers and TV spots. There's a really nice, 15 to 20-minute original storyboards, original production illustration gallery with commentary from artist William Stout, and, of course, there's a still gallery. As far as special features go and everything, including the alternate artwork for the DVD, I give this one an 8.5 out of 10. Definitely worth checking out. The film itself, I rated a 3.5 out of 5. Again, this is really one of those fun creature feature films to watch. Make sure to head on over to www.shoutfactory.com to pick up your copy. Head to your local big box retailer or head on over to Amazon.com. It's been another fantastic show. I want to thank everyone for listening. Thank you to our guest, Spencer Gray, and Marv Blavault, who showed up at the end to talk about Snake with a Human Tail. I want to say thank you to our friends at Scream Factory for sending us Invaders from Mars to watch. And thank you to our friends at Olive Films for sending us Night of the Demons 2. We also want to say thank you to our friends at Metal Blade Record for all of the incredible metal they send us to listen to. We're going to have a really great show next week. So until then, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Dead Man from Horror Society and Living Dead Magazine telling you all to rest in peace.